Do you remember the smell of fresh plastic under the Christmas tree? Or the way your hands would turn black from playing in the dirt with your favorite toy soldier? The 60s and 70s were a golden time for childhood. Before seatbelts were common and before anyone read the back of the box for safety warnings. Back then, danger came in a shiny box wrapped in holiday paper. Today, we're looking at 10 toys from the 60s and 70s that would never make it to store shelves today. So grab a cup of cocoa, settle into your favorite armchair, and let's flip through the memory book. 1. Lawn darts. Backyard missiles. These weren't your average game of darts. Known as jarts, these heavy metal-tipped lawn darts were meant to be tossed high in the air and land inside a plastic ring on the ground. Simple, right? But one wrong aim, and they became backyard missiles. By the late 80s, there were thousands of injuries and even a few tragic deaths. Today, they're banned in the US. But many still remember the thrill of a game that felt more like a survival test. 2. Creepy crawlers. The hot mold machine. The creepy crawlers thing maker let kids pour goopy plastic into metal molds and bake them into bugs using a hot plate. It was fun, weird, and smelled like melted crayons. But here's the thing. It got really hot. This wasn't just warm. It could reach over 300 degrees Fahrenheit. Burns were common, but back then, that was just part of being a kid. Try selling that today and you'd need a legal team bigger than the toy itself. Clackers, the noise that left bruises. These simple toys were 2 acrylic balls on a string that you'd clack together by moving your hand up and down. The satisfying sound was addicting until one of the balls shattered mid-air like glass. Kids loved them, parents hated them, and doctors started warning about eye injuries and broken knuckles. By the mid-70s, clackers disappeared, but if you ever owned a pair, you probably remember the bruises with a smile. 4. Gilbert U-238 Atomic Energy Lab. Yes, really. In the 1950s and early 60s, science kits were all the rage, but this one went too far. The Gilbert U-238 Atomic Energy Lab actually came with real uranium ore. It encouraged kids to test radiation levels and experiment with nuclear reactions at home. It was pulled off shelves quickly due to safety concerns, but it remains one of the most jaw-dropping examples of just how different the world used to be. 5. Battlestar Galactica. Missile firing ships, tiny rockets, big trouble. These toy ships from the late 70s came with small plastic missiles you could launch. The problem? One child choked to death when he inhaled the missile. The tragedy led to one of the first major toy recalls in US history, and ever since, toy projectiles have had to pass strict safety tests. But for a time, tiny rockets made space battles feel real, sometimes too real. 6. The Johnny 7 OMA. A war toy with 7 weapons. If you grew up in the 60s, you might remember this beast of a toy gun. The Johnny 7 one-man army was over 3 feet long and packed with 7 firing weapons, including grenades, a machine gun, and a rocket launcher. It was every little boy's dream and every parent's nightmare. Today, realistic toy guns like this are nearly impossible to find in stores, and for good reason. But back then, it was just another day in the neighborhood battlefield. 7. Snacktime Cabbage Patch Kid. The hair-eating doll. In the early 90s, the Cabbage Patch craze continued with the Snacktime doll. It had motorized jaws that ate plastic snacks, but it didn't know the difference between a toy and a child's hair. Several kids got their fingers or hair stuck in the doll's mouth and it wouldn't stop chomping. The toy was pulled from shelves, but not before it became a cautionary tale about giving machines to toddlers. Belt buckle Derringer. A secret gun for kids. Yes, this was real. In the 60s and 70s, some toys were marketed as hidden weapons. The belt buckle Derringer was a toy gun that actually fired caps and was hidden in a fake belt buckle. It made kids feel like spies or cowboys. But looking back, it's clear how easily it could have been mistaken for the real thing. Safety laws have long since made toys like this disappear from toy aisles, for good reason. 9. Water Wiggle, a hose monster gone wild. It sounded fun, a plastic head attached to a garden hose that danced and sprayed water. But the Water Wiggle had a dark side. If the metal nozzle came loose, the head could whip violently and cause serious injuries. At least one child died when the toy latched onto his face with water pressure. The company recalled it in the late 70s, but the image of that wild, wriggling toy still sticks in many childhood memories. 10. Sky dancers, flying fairies with a mind of their own. These were technically 90s toys, but they had the spirit of the earlier decades, whimsical, fun, and a little dangerous. Sky dancers would launch into the air and twirl like magical fairies. But they didn't always fly straight. They hit faces, broke things, and caused eye injuries. After hundreds of accidents, they were recalled. Still, if you ever owned one, you remember the wonder and the fear of ducking when your fairy went rogue. They may seem dangerous now, but to us they were just part of growing up. A little burn here, a bruise there, nothing a popsicle and a hug couldn't fix. Toys today are safer, sure, but sometimes we still miss the days when danger came in a bright, cheerful box. Which of these toys did you have? Let us know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this walk down memory lane, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell for more nostalgic stories every week, right here on American Rewind.